the unfortunate scenario that played itself out in Mubi, Adamawa State. Unfortunately, some schools there were attacked, and I'm not sure there has been any major comment. Well, we'll talk about that in a moment. Mr. Femi Adegbulu joins us now. Dr. Femi Adegbulu, a security analyst. Thank you for coming on this morning.
My pleasure to be here again. Thank you.
Sadly, we will have to really talk about this because the way it is, who knows? It was shocking. As a lot of people described it. The Senate also considered that perhaps we'll go to that report maybe much later. But then they did talk about the fact that they were sad, that no doubt, and the Senate President reminded us that the capital punishment is still in our statutes, and by extension saying those who did this should not be allowed to just go easily. So, but was there anything new that they said, or is it that we should take solace in the fact that yes, they intend to rally round and sort this out?
Yeah, I think first of all, I want to commiserate with the parents and the guardians of those who have lost their loved ones with regards to the unfortunate incident that happened. I think the senior president is trying to allude to the culture of, impunity, just punitive culture that is pervading the land, because people have done grievous things without any deterrence. And when you have that kind of lack of deterrent culture, people will tend to commit crime because they know that there is nothing that will happen to them. And that's what we call certainty of punishment. Punishment certainty. If there is no punishment certainty, evildoers will be enamored to commit more crimes. So we've had several of such, and we've not actually seen such people committing such crime, committed to law or to face, either capital punishment or any corporate punishment. So there we are. So people are not deterred from committing offenses, and that's why I think what the Senate President is saying is trying to allude to that punitive culture to be expunged, maybe by showing some deterrence.
Should be expunged or tried?
No, I'm talking about if we can remove that culture of, just doing things the way you like, as if there is no law in the land, and because there is nobody to deter you. So if we now implement what he is advocating, maybe to some extent it will stem the ugly tide. So to that extent, I would say that he's feeling the pulse of the country.
Well, anyway, I think you've been doing some works on all of this, even though some still say we haven't been able to know who exactly carried out this act. What would you say we should be doing at this point in time, as a matter of speaking now, talking about solutions? Because for some, they argue that if you talk about capital punishment, let's just say maybe these are terrorists or suicide bombers, the man who in the first place doesn't even give any form of value to his own life, of what good is it when you say you will kill the person if he's found wanting?
By way of a solution, I think I will recommend a number of things. For instance, I've always believed that public police alone cannot prevent or provide solution to the crimes in the land. So if we supplement public police with private policing, we'll be able to make headway. And that's why those who are clamoring for state police and all that, I don't really think that state policing is the solution. But when you complement public with private policing, like is done in other Western world, they have been able to make a judicious blend, of both public and private. And so they perform these duties. And that's why we see less and less of criminal activities, particularly in these countries that have understood the synergy that can be forged, between these two individual law agencies. Now, law enforcement agencies. Now, when we talk about private policing, for instance, there are a number of things they can do to at least ease the burden of public police, who have a lot to do. And even that one, apart from the fact they have a very huge assignment to perform, the number of people are just very, very infinitesimal. So you cannot, that is why those who are manning our public institutions, for instance, they cannot do it effectively. I remember in those days when I was a student at the University of Lagos, we had people, for instance, who were amongst us from the state agents, and we never knew they were state agents. They went with us we were neck deep into student unionism and all that. They would be everywhere with us. Until recently, I never knew the identity of an individual. Until recently, now I started attending some security meeting and we were meeting there. Now I recall. This guy was an SSS. So he was ever there with us in the University of Lagos. He never graduated. Okay? Now, but his stature also, blended with us. He's a mouse, a little stature. So what now happened to this system? What happened to a system of investigation? What happened to surveillance and all these things in our public institutions? So I want to believe that if such a thing has been in place, so they would have been able to know this movie incident, that something is cooking, something is in the offing. That is, if we want to base our analogy on the fact that this thing was perpetrated by fellow students. Because I've seen some trends. The trend I see in these killings, a kind of depict the signatures of Boko Haram. So there are two ways to this analysis.
You just brought up a very important point here. Then in schools, maybe before any attack, you get to even hear stories from some students, even if you to go be a kind of hit carried out by some courts groups. But with this now, you say, well, it has the signature of the terror group Boko Haram. What else can you say you have been able to find from this? Because we saw the pictures released, even though the pictures just couldn't be published by most media houses.
One thing I see again is the fact that the media did not actually, do what we expect of it, because it's like it's been downplayed. We didn't see the bit by bit reportage of what really happened. No name was attached to any incident or anything. So we would have expected names to be attached to this thing, because when you saw the trend, for instance, when there was a raid by the JTF in Borno State, okay, shortly after that raid,
there was also one in Mobi.
Yeah, shortly after, I'm telling you the trend now, pattern. Okay. So shortly after that raid, the Commissioner for Justice, or the Attorney General of that state was killed. Okay, now the raid in Mobi also, shortly after the raid in Mobi, this one also happened. You can see a kind of pattern. This is a signature. And this one also happened on the day of independence, which shows that, Al-Qaeda versus Boko Haramic signature, you can see it there. They want to make a mark at a time and day that is very significant to their target.
All right,
so as to make a point.
Some accounts was also in the papers, because if you go through today, the rector of Adamawa State Polytechnic, Professor Abdullahi Baboy, he did say that he had called out to the police authorities time without number in Yola. I'm trying to see if I could quote him directly. He says, "Yeah, we have complained again and again, time without number, to the police authorities in Yola to intervene, as the security breach is now reaching an alarming rate." He says they accessed the Polytechnic through the police station in because they share the same boundary between the police and the State Polytechnic, and they usually come in through there. So he's spoken up time and again, and lo and behold, nothing happened until this one.
It still underscores what I'm talking about, that if it has the signature of Boko Haram, then we are talking about some powerful, entrenched interest. Powerful, entrenched interest. If the chief executive and the one who is supposed to be responsible for law and order and security of the people had made frantic call to the powers that be, or to the agent that is supposed to provide safety for the people, and yet no rescue was forthcoming, of course that's tendentious. You begin to to reason out whether he's acting a script or are his hand tied.